My roommate was a nightmare, stealing, lying, trashing our place. I'd had enough. So I crafted a secret revenge plan. Pure genius, hitting her where it hurt without her suspecting a thing. This is how I served sweet justice and finally got my peace back. My name is Maddie, and this whole saga started with such high hopes. I'd finally found an apartment I could almost afford in a part of the city I loved. It wasn't huge, it wasn't fancy, but it had decent light and was close to work. The only catch, I needed a roommate to split the rent and bills. I put up ads, sifted through responses, did the awkward coffee meet and greets. Then I met Chloe. She walked in all sunshine and smiles, trendy clothes, bubbly personality. We talked for an hour. She agreed with everything I said about wanting a clean, respectful, relatively quiet living space. She worked in marketing, seemed financially stable, and laughed at my jokes. "Oh, I'm super easygoing," she chirped. "Totally low maintenance. As long as we communicate, it'll be perfect." Famous last words. I offered her the room. She accepted immediately. I breathed a sigh of relief, genuinely believing I'd found a great match. I felt like I'd won the roommate lottery. Looking back, I should have known that kind of luck rarely holds. The first week was deceptively calm. We were polite, figuring out each other's routine. Then, the creeping annexation began. It started small, almost forgivably. A pair of her shoes migrating from her room to the entryway mat. Then staying there, her coat draped over the back of a dining chair instead of being hung up. A growing pile of her junk mail on the kitchen counter. Minor things. Right? Things you mention gently. "Hey Chloe." I tried, keeping my tone light. "Could we try to keep the common areas a bit clearer? Maybe keep shoes in our rooms, or by the door closet." Her reaction became the template for almost every future interaction. A wide-eyed look of surprise, followed by an overly effusive apology. "Oh my God, Maddie, I am so sorry. Wow, total brain fart. Work has been insane, won't happen again." She'd sweep the offending items away, only for them to reappear, sometimes in greater numbers within. It was like dealing with sentient clutter that had sworn allegiance only to her. Then came the noise. Apparently Chloe believed silence was deeply suspicious. Her phone conversations were exclusively conducted on speaker, usually while pacing the living room, regardless of whether I was trying to read, watch TV, or exist peacefully in my own home. Her taste in music leaned towards bass-heavy pop, played at volumes that vibrated the cheap particle board shelves. And late at night, that's when her binge-watching truly hit its sigh. The tinny sounds of sitcom laugh tracks bleeding through my bedroom wall. Again I tried the reasonable route. "Chloe, hey, it's getting a bit late. Could you maybe use headphones for your show?" Sometimes she'd feign innocence. "Oh, was it loud? I could barely hear it." Other times, she'd deploy the guilt trip. "Wow. Okay, sorry for living." And my personal favorite, the gaslighting. "Maddie, I think you might be a little overly sensitive to noise. It really wasn't that bad. Maybe you need earplugs." The audacity was breathtaking. She was violating our agreed-upon rules, and somehow making me feel like the problem. But the kitchen became ground zero. My food started vanishing, not like a whole pizza disappearing overnight, though honestly I wouldn't have put it past her eventually. It was insidious. The last scoop of my favorite ice cream, the half avocado I was saving for breakfast, vanished. The good olive oil I splurged on, mysteriously lower than I remembered. I started labeling everything. Big, bold letters. "Maddie's food, please do not eat." I might as well have written "free for Chloe." It made zero difference. I'd buy a carton of almond milk on Monday, by Wednesday it would be empty. "Chloe, did you finish my almond milk?" I asked, holding up the empty carton. "Oh yeah," she said, barely looking up from her phone. "Needed it for my smoothie. You don't mind, right? I'll grab you another one next time I'm at the store." Spoiler alert, next time never materialized. She consumed my groceries like a locust plague, and never replaced a single item. It wasn't just the cost, though that added up. It was the constant violation, the feeling of being preyed upon in my own fridge. The apartment itself started to reflect Chloe's internal chaos. She treated the living room like her personal dumping ground, and frat house lounge combined. Friends would appear, often without warning. I'd come home after a draining day at work, to find 3 strangers I didn't know sprawled on the sofa, feet on the coffee table, watching loud videos on their phones. They'd use my mugs, my throw blanket. Once, I walked in to find one of her friends eating my labeled leftovers straight from the container. Chloe just shrugged when I looked at her, mortified. "Oh, that's just Ben. He was hungry." And the cleaning, non-existent on her part. Dirty dishes became a permanent sink fixture. Crusty plates, sticky glasses, greasy pans, all hers. I'd hold out, hoping she'd take responsibility. Days would pass. The smell would start. Finally, unable to bear living in filth, I'd cave and wash everything. Not once did she say thank you. It was like she expected it. The bathroom was worse. Hair clogged the drain, toothpaste smeared the mirror. Her damp towels lived permanently on the floor. I started keeping my own cleaning supplies hidden in my room, because shared supplies, those vanished faster than my almond milk. I felt like I was drowning. I dreaded coming home. My anxiety levels were through the roof. I complained constantly to my friends, like Alex. He was sympathetic, offered advice, but ultimately I was the one stuck there. I tried everything short of eviction, which felt impossible since she was on the lead. We had serious talks. I even made bullet points. I used "I feel" statements, like all the conflict resolution articles tell you to. "Chloe, I feel disrespected when my food is eaten without asking. I feel frustrated when the common areas are consistently messy. I feel stressed when guests are over without any notice, especially late at night." Her reactions were predictable. Sometimes she'd burst into tears, making me feel like the bad guy. "I just feel like I can't do anything right," she'd sob. "You're always picking on me. I'm trying my best." Other times she'd get icy and defensive, twisting my words. "So now I can't even have friends over? This is my home too, you know. You're just trying to control everything." It was exhausting. She was impossible. She created the problems, then expertly dodged any accountability. I was reaching my limit. The constant low-grade stress was wearing me down. But the actual snap, the moment the polite, reasonable Maddie died, and the calculating, vengeful Maddie was born, happened over something precious to me. My grandmother's quilt. It's not just any quilt. My grandma made it for me years ago. Intricate patterns, specific fabrics that hold memories. It's heavy, warm and irreplaceable. It lived on my bed, and I had explicitly clearly told Chloe the one rule about my bedroom: off limits, especially the quilt. "It's incredibly special to me, Chloe. Please, just never touch it." She'd nodded. "Oh, totally, I get it. It's beautiful. Wouldn't dream of it." One Saturday morning, I woke up needing coffee. I walked into the living room, still bleary-eyed, and stopped there, crumpled on the floor, partially tucked under the sofa, stained with what looked suspiciously like spilled soda, was my grandmother's quilt. Chloe was asleep on the sofa, nestled amongst a pile of her own discarded clothes and snack wrapper. Apparently she'd had a friend over late again, without telling me, and they'd decided my irreplaceable heirloom quilt was the perfect cozy throw for their late-night lounging. Something inside me just broke. All the frustration, the resentment, the helplessness I'd been swallowing for months, boiled over into cold, hard rage. I didn't yell. I didn't confront her right then. I carefully picked up the quilt, inspecting the sticky brown stain with a sickening feeling in my stomach. I took it straight to the dry cleaner, praying they could fix it. Then I went back to my room, closed the door and started to think. Talking hadn't worked. Pleading hadn't worked. Logic hadn't worked. Chloe operated on a different frequency, one where consideration and consequences didn't exist. If I wanted my sanity back, if I wanted her out, I realized I couldn't play by the normal rules anymore. She responded only to inconvenience and discomfort, but only when it directly affected her. Fine, challenge accepted. It couldn't be obvious. It couldn't be anything that could be definitively traced back to me. No property damage beyond, perhaps the accidental, nothing illegal. It had to be subtle, insidious, a campaign of minor annoyances, designed to slowly chip away at her comfort, her routine, her entitled sense of ease. I needed to make living here subtly unbearable for her. It was time for Chloe to get a taste of her own medicine, amplified and expertly administered. My revenge wouldn't be loud or explosive. It would be a death by 1,000 paper cuts. Operation Get Chloe Out was officially My plan had several phases, designed to escalate subtly. Phase 1, Operation Minor Inconvenience. Chloe was perpetually disorganized, always losing things. I decided to help that along. Her favorite lip balm, suddenly missing from her makeup bag, only to be found by me days later under a sofa cushion. The remote control for the TV vanished right before her favorite show started, then discovered wedged between the mattress and headboard in her room. How did it get there? One shoe from the pair she planned to wear, mysteriously absent, turning up later inside a grocery bag in the pantry. I became the queen of finding her lost items, always with a sympathetic, "Oh, here it is. You really need to keep better track of your stuff, Chloe." The key was plausible deniability and the sheer frequency. It wasn't overt, it was just constant low-level disruption. Phase 2, the olfactory offensive. This one required finesse. Chloe, despite her messiness, was oddly vain about her collection of expensive perfumes and body lotion. I couldn't tamper with those directly, too obvious, but I could subtly alter the ambient scent around her belongings. A cotton ball soaked in a tiny bit of sour milk, tucked way in the back of the closet near her laundry hamper, which was always overflowing. A piece of onion accidentally dropped and rolled under the sofa near where she always sat, left to develop a faint unpleasant funk over a day or two, before being discovered and cleaned up. I accidentally used a cleaning rag that had previously wiped up coffee grounds to wipe down the bathroom counter near her toothbrush holder, leaving a faint, lingering, slightly unpleasant earthy smell. Nothing overpowering, just enough to make her wrinkle her nose and wonder if something had gone bad, contributing to a general sense of unease. Phase 3, digital disruption. Chloe lived on her phone and laptop. Minor digital annoyances were, I started accidentally logging her out of shared streaming accounts, like Netflix or Hulu, right before she settled in to watch something. Oh, weird. It logged me out too. Must be a glitch. I subtly changed the name of our shared Wi-Fi network every few days, just adding a number or changing a letter, forcing her to constantly ask for the new password, or re-enter it on all her devices. I even figured out how to make the smart speaker we shared occasionally mishear only her commands. "Sorry, I didn't understand that," it would say to her while responding perfectly to me moments later. Pure, petty, digital warfare. Phase 4, malicious compliance and helpfulness. This was perhaps the most satisfying phase. I started being incredibly proactively helpful in ways that were actually detrimental. "Oh, let me grab your laundry for you," I'd chirp, then accidentally wash her favorite white blouse with a pair of my red socks. "Whoop, oh my god, Chloe, I am so sorry. It must have gotten mixed in." I'd offer to tidy up the living room, managing to subtly misplace the papers she'd left out for her work project, or rearrange her stack of magazines, just enough so she couldn't find the one she was looking for. Always with a bright smile and profuse apologies. Just trying to help keep things neat, I'd say sweetly. I mirrored her own tactics back at her, the feigned innocence, the over-the-top apologies, the complete lack of actual accountability. Through all this, I watched. Her initial obliviousness slowly gave way to confusion, then irritation, then outright paranoia. She started complaining to me. "Maddie, is something weird going on? I keep losing things. Or does the apartment smell weird to you? Or why does the Wi-Fi keep changing?" I'd feign ignorance or shared frustration. "Oh yeah, I lost my keys yesterday too. So annoying." "Smell? I don't smell anything. Maybe open a window?" "The Wi-Fi, I know. The router must be acting up again. Super frustrating." I commiserated while secretly reveling in her growing discomfort. She couldn't pin anything on me. Everything was plausibly accidental or a shared problem. But the cumulative effect was undeniable. The apartment was no longer her consequence-free playground. It was becoming subtly hostile territory. The final phase, the grand finale, needed to hit her where it hurt. Her wallet and her reliance on shared resources. She never contributed to fairly. Chloe was perpetually late paying her share of the utilities, and never ever bought communal supplies like toilet paper, dish soap, or cleaning sprays. I started meticulously documenting everything. I kept receipts, I made spreadsheets, I tracked every roll of toilet paper, every squirt of soap, every kilowatt of electricity she owed me for. The perfect opportunity arrived when Chloe landed an interview for a job she desperately wanted, and had been bragging about incessantly. It was a video interview, scheduled for a Monday morning. She needed reliable internet. Sunday night, I changed the Wi-Fi password one last time. Monday morning, about an hour before her scheduled interview, Chloe emerged from her room in a panic. "Maddie, the Wi-Fi isn't working. I can't connect. My interview is soon." I put on my most concerned face. "Oh no, that's terrible. Let me check." I fiddled with the router for dramatic effect. That's weird. It seems to be asking for the password again. Strange. "Well, what is it?" she demanded, vibrating with anxiety. "You know," I said, adopting a thoughtful, slightly hesitant tone. "Speaking of things we need to sort out, I was just going through our shared expenses for the last few months." I pulled out a neatly printed, multi-page, itemized. "It looks like your share for utilities, plus the communal supplies you haven't chipped in for, comes to, let's see, $287.04. I held out the bill. "The new Wi-Fi password is right there at the bottom, Chloe. Just wanted to make sure we were all settled up before, continuing to share resources." Her face went through a rapid series of emotions: confusion, disbelief, sputtering rage, and finally, pure, unadulterated panic. She snatched the bill, her eyes scanning the detailed list: dates, items, costs. There was no arguing with it. It was all there, clear as day. Her almond milk appropriations weren't itemized, but the toilet paper certainly was. You can't do this," she stammered. "My interview." "I know. It's really important," I said sympathetically. "The password's right there. Page 3, just under the total amount due. Venmo works great for me." I smiled sweetly. She stared at the bill, then at me, then back at the bill. The clock was ticking. Defeated, trembling with fury, she pulled out her phone, opened her banking app, and transferred the full amount. The confirmation pinged on my phone almost instantly. "There," she spat, shoving her phone back in her pocket. "Now, give me the password." "No need," I said cheerfully, pointing to the bill she still held. "Like I said, it's right there at the bottom. Good luck with your interview." The look on her face, as she found the password printed neatly beneath the $287.04. "Due immediately for continued access to shared resources." Line was something I will treasure forever. It was the perfect blend of humiliation and impotence. She got the Wi-Fi working just minutes before her interview, flustered and furious. I don't know if she got the job, and frankly, I didn't care. My masterpiece was complete. The dynamic in the apartment shifted instantly. The tension was thicker than Chloe's neglected sink slut. She barely spoke to me. The minor annoyances from my earlier phases magically stopped, because I stopped orchestrating them. But the damage was done. The apartment was no longer comfortable for her. The illusion of effortless mooching was shattered. She couldn't trust her environment, and she definitely couldn't trust me, though she still couldn't prove I'd done anything deliberate beyond the final Wi-Fi ransom. 2 weeks later, Chloe announced she was moving out. She'd found a subletter, after I insisted anyone moving in meet my approval first. She claimed she just needed a change, that the place didn't feel right anymore. She never acknowledged the mountain of debt I'd forced her to repay, nor the campaign of psychological warfare I'd waged. She packed her things sullenly, leaving her room predictably messy, but I didn't even care. The day she left was one of the best days of my recent memory. The moment the door closed behind her, and her final suitcase, it felt like the entire apartment took a deep breath. I walked through the rooms, my rooms now. The quiet felt amazing. The cleanliness, after I deep cleaned her room and the bathroom, was glorious. My food stayed in the fridge. My grandmother's quilt, thankfully restored by the dry cleaner, stayed safely on my. It might sound extreme, what I did, and maybe it was, but living with someone like Chloe, someone who drains your energy, disrespects your space, and gaslights you at every turn, it pushes you to extremes. I tried being reasonable. I tried being direct. None of it worked. My little campaign of carefully curated chaos was the only language she seemed to understand. The language of personal inconvenience, hitting her directly. It wasn't just about getting revenge. It was about reclaiming my space, my peace, and my So yeah, That's the story of how I dealt with my roommate from hell. It was calculated, it was petty, and honestly, it was one of the most satisfying things I've ever done. Sometimes, justice isn't served on a silver platter. Sometimes you have to meticulously arrange it yourself. One accidentally misplaced shoe, and one well-timed Wi-Fi password ransom at a time. And let me tell you, the peace and quiet afterwards, absolutely priceless.